Analyst as well, and he presents lectures and serves as an examination officer in the Department of Public Administration. Kogi State Polytechnic, Lokoja, Nigeria, John supervises research projects and carries out research works in a special interest in education-related policies in Nigeria and in the continent of Africa. So Dr. John, please welcome yourself to this conference, and you will have 2 minutes for a short, detailed introduction, 20 minutes of a presentation, and 5 minutes of a Q&A. We will be shooting to end around 10:50 p.m. or a.m. I apologize.
Of this effect, we will have to, policymakers and policy influencers and government alike will have to design such training program that will develop and bring up our, educators to enable them to cope with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we will have to design such platform and curriculum or modules that will really help us to engage the teachers or the instructors as a way of helping them to brace up and meet up with the demands. And then also, we will have to also focus on the involvement of international, donors in the area. They should do an on-the-spot assessment, reach out to such communities, such villages, such places, and understand their peculiar challenges, peculiar issues that can be addressed, instead of making such donations whose impacts are not really felt by the targeted beneficiaries of such donations. Efforts should be put in place by such donors to ensure that feasibility studies is being carried out to really tackle such real issues that are on ground, to enable the rural dwellers, especially the rural learners, as it were, or students in the rural area, to be able to key into such platforms that have been put in place to engage learners in order as a way of covering up what have been lost in the period of total closure of schools, as it were. And we also saw that there's no doubt about it that it's established that the long period of closure of schools at all levels has in a way negatively affected the academic calendar, such that most schools upon reopening of the system are still struggling and trying to measure up and to meet up as a way of meeting up with the learning processes, taking exams, and ensuring that the academic calendar is carefully adjusted and put in meet up with what they are expected to learn within the given academic session. As hello. Okay.
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Okay. Now, in trying to round up, I made a number of submissions. There's a number of issues that came up from the little study I have done on this subject matter. I would like to highlight a number of them. One of it is that there is a lack of access to technology, which has to be considered, or which is being identified as a very big barrier or a major barrier for learning during the pandemic period or the COVID-19 period. It's also observed that there's a widespread, closure of guideline that was released by the World Health Organization. Okay, so the early childhood and primary level students are seen to be most likely to be disadvantaged here by the crisis and least likely to be able to access the technology required for learning, especially those who are spread across the length and breadth of African community, especially in Nigeria, as stated earlier. I also observed that as much as possible, governments in collaboration with private, individuals engage in a number of television and radio programs that are educationally inclined. But be that as it were, like I mentioned earlier, the non-availability of a number of these amenities didn't allow the rural dwellers access to such programs. as a way of keying into it to be to benefit from such platform of learning. A large majority of our educators, as said earlier, have not received financial support for teaching and learning tools to help them continue teaching in the crisis, and so do not feel there has been sufficient preparation to help them adopt. I also say that in the area of finance, most educators or teachers were left on their own in that period of the pandemic, and this in a way has affected their interest and their ability to get their students engaged from their various homes using the e-learning platform. Financially, they were not being supported as a way of helping their students to engage them in learning, even while the long break lasted as a result of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. I also want to say that be that as it may be, as much as the challenges are here with us that came out of the COVID-19, I want to say that it's better transformation, reorganization, repositioning of our educational system in Nigeria and in Africa in general. Like I said from the beginning, let me also say that, let me add that the effect of this outbreak of this pandemic will not leave us in a hurry. They are going to be here for a long time. So leaders, political leaders across the continent of Africa should begin to strategize and think of the best way to live with it and to come out of it gradually. And while we are still here, I would like to suggest that conscious and deliberate effort must be put in place to ensure that the educational system in Africa becomes better than ever, especially in Nigeria and in Africa, as it were. Emphasis should be laid on training and retraining of teachers or educators, so to equip them to cope with the new normal where we have found ourselves. If all these things is being put in place, infrastructurally too, where you will see that a number of schools in Africa or in Nigeria, for example, they are not even having access to light or electricity, as the case may be. A number of facilities are not there. And so while we are here, I would like to submit also that there will be a need for our school system to be upgraded such that the e-learning platform can now continue side by side with the classroom platform for learning. As a matter of fact, before now, I said that we were never used to the e-learning platform of learning. We were just being used to the classroom platform. But the outbreak of the pandemic have taken us further to make use of the e-learning platform, and as it is, we can now use it to complement the the classroom platform, so that the two can go side by side. And more so, it was obvious that science-related programs and technical-related subjects could not really thrive on using the e-learning platform, as a lot of practical exercises are required. So on this note, as much as the e-learning have its own place in the growth and development of the educational system, the classroom, you will agree with me that most schools in Nigeria, especially on their own, to make use of what they have at their disposal in the area of resources to cope with what I observe is that schools are now coming up with such facilities as resource centers or ICT, as you may call it, information communication technology centers. And they have a number of desktops, and they have wireless networks within their campuses to enable both students and lecturers to learn electronically. Most schools I have visited and I have contacted via friends and research partners, confirm to me that schools at the end, with the little resources available, were able to mount such facilities as those ICT centers, that those facilities put in place are grossly inadequate. They are not sufficient. Where you have a population of 1,000 students and you have a facility that have just about 2 to 3, PC, you will agree with me that a learning process will not be effective and efficient as it were. So schools are managements or internal management of institutions in Nigeria are putting up there. Know that I charge the government at all levels to collaborate with these institutions as a way of expanding such facilities to enable them cope with the demand of the new normal much.
I think his internet is so challenging.
Yes, unfortunately, we were not able to receive much of that answer, but I do hope from what we were able to receive that that answered some of your question.
Yeah, I just want to add to Mr. John. In Nigeria, the problem basically is that the government is actually not budgeting, making education a priority when computing their budgets. When you look at the budget and see what is allocated to education, it's a child's play. So I think for me, the onus is not on the school management, the institution management, but the government. If the government should actually do more, I think the school and the students would be properly abreast and would study well and catch up with the e-learning platform. Thank you.
Hello, Christian. Just to also, hello, Christian.
Yes, hello. Hello?
Yes, hello, Christian. Just to add to what the panelists have said.
Yes.
Another important thing that people need to realize when you're talking about education is the content of what you are teaching these kids.
Right.
You are teaching these kids to think it's all about garbage. They'll only be producing garbage. So the definition for education is actually enlightenment. How your enlightened state of mind can allow you to identify local problems within your area, using all the information on all the global researched material to finding solution to them. So I think the content of what you are teaching the kids are equally important. So if in the last 30 years, what you've been teaching kids are how to build satellites that can enhance internet services, how to send cubic satellite to space that can help advance networking. If you've been teaching them and grooming them on how to create content, how to address financial transaction issues, computer-based stem cell technology, stem cell ideas, in the next 30, 20 years, many of all the challenges we are seeing in education will water down. So the content of what we teach our kids are important. That's why one of the most important content must be entrepreneurial mindset. Do not groom kids to think they are looking out for government jobs that have not existed for the last 30 years. Because at the end of the day, what you think is education for them is a waste. So what we are having is recycled old archaic knowledge. Whatever they taught them in 1974 is where they are still remaining. Hence the need, they do not have internet. Hence the need is not enlighten the populace. The populace have not gotten enlightenment enough to elect people who should know by now in 21st century that internet access should have been broad spectrum. So my point still remains this, that whatever we're going to teach these kids is what they're going to bring out. So, and it's what they're going to use to influence their environment. Rather than we wait until they become reactionary, upset and angry, that they've not used their potential to the fullest, which is always the basis for agitations. All agitations and protests across the world has always been that their potential or the expectation that they need have not been met, and that they are being stifled or they are being suppressed. And not a function of the education alone. It's a function of the systemic way we have groomed them to develop content, to express themselves. So I still believe that if our educational contents are prioritized, if African educational system are coned down to 3 or 4 points, agriculture, education, science, health, and we focus on that and spend money for research on those areas, I believe that we'll be able to move away from being always asking for donations and now being the ones delivering services for our people. And then finally, the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the template that global leaders across the world agreed upon to be the ones to push our people out of poverty, to be able to address the issue of energy, address the issue of inclusiveness, address the issue of collaboration and other global matters like climate change, have not been taken seriously over the years. So we should return to those models on the Sustainable Development Goal, and we should truly be able to put our mouth where our money, our money is. Thank you so much.